Hi everybody. This is Greg Soto. I'm just leaving a note. There was apparently a mishap in the recording of this session, so the audio drops out about halfway through it. I'm going to do a kind of post commentary upon the video that I'm doing, just so that you know what's going on in case you can't see. Um, that's the dog outside, and uh, yeah, hopefully the next video will turn out better than this one. Thank you very much and enjoy. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Watch an Idiot Do a Thing. I'm trying to do another installation using a different guide of Arch Linux. The installation guide that I will be using is Linux and Ubuntu, a step-by-step guide to installing Arch Linux. Now, off the bat, I can see that there are a few things wrong with this guide. Everything. This is why I created this guide, that I'm doing this video, because it just always seems that there's something that causes an error or kerfuffle or something that just causes everything to go haywire. I'm saying this because this is about the fourth time I've tried installing today. And I come across, oh, they didn't include this because they just felt like, oh, we can skip this. Everybody knows this. Well, that might not be true. Since we've already tested the ping command to make sure that the hardline was working. Please refer back to the first attempt at this. We're going to go ahead and skip that, and this guide is telling us to update the system clock. After system clock, we can go into carving up the SD drive. So, oh, it's telling me that I can use that as boot. So, we're going to, let's see, create like a 1 megabyte section. This is going to be the BIOS. BIOS is EF002. And BIOS. See, create a BIOS section. This next part, same. Always enter in the have a default as to where to begin. Next, we're going to create the EFI. EFI will be the boot drive. Next, we're going to create a root drive. First sector, start at default. Going to give this a 3 gig sector. This is going to be 8300. And then name is root, and then final section is the 8300 home. So in this setup, it tells us that we're going to be using the EFI, not the EFI, the EFI as the boot. So EFI boot root home. The BIOS will come into conjunction later. If we have a BIOS,
since we do have a BIOS, we do not need to fdisk. Make sure that we got these. Since we have a BIOS, we don't need to format a BIOS. The BIOS will be taken care of itself. So we got to, let's see, mfsk dot fat space, damn it, mfks dot fat space dash capital F 32 space dash dev slash sda. What was 2? Yeah. Some reason why that this guide has a misplacement of the F and K. So go ahead and take that as note when you do this yourself. Next is the root. Root partitions need to be in an mkfs dot extended for slash dev slash slash sda. What was the other one? The last command that I did was for 2, so 3. And home uses the exact same extension, so I will just hit the up command and delete the 3 and put in a 4. All right. Examples, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, my BIOS is my boot partition. But right now it's just mounts slash dev slash sda3 to slash mnt, because sda3 is our mount drive. And then make directory within mnt slash mnt slash boot slash boot. So it'll look like this. We need to create one more directory, home, and then we can begin connecting these things to mnt slash boot, and then 4 to home. All right. So, packed strap. We're now going to be installing the systems. Mount slash base space slash delve space grub. For networking management, you must install space slash mnt or network manager. All right. And now we're going to fast forward so that way you people don't have to watch all these things load up.
Okay, so after we have generated not generated, installed the actual Arch system onto the VirtualBox, we're going to generate the FS tab. We'll use the same command as we used before, generate fs space dash l. This time we're going to add in slash mount right caret slash mount slash etc slash sf tab. Sorry about that. All right, now we're going to change over to the actual root system rather than the ISO. We're going to do the same arch dash chroot and then enter in the shebang, mount shebang, back into the root system of Arch. Let's see. And now we're going to set up user location for the time generation. If you listen to the video at the part at the beginning, this is the part where the audio had cut out. So, if I remember right, this command had some reason why this command had a problem. When we were doing an initial setup, it seemed that we had done something to change the language. So instead of doing locale time, LOCALE, we just entered local time. And that would allow us to cement the location of which we're coming from. This was another change. We simplified the command for syncing up the system clock to the international network time maintenance. Now we will enter in the name. No, not the name. We'll change the local gen to our standard EN underscore USA English UTC 8 or whatever it is. Where is it? It's here we go. That's the one. Just delete the comment and Control O, Control X to save and close. We are now generating the local file to brandish all English lexicons and words to our system. This tutorial that I found shows us to use echo placement. So one of the uses of the echo command is that not only will you get the computer to say what you want, you can also tell it to say what you want where you want. In this case, we're telling it to say this at this location. This tutorial told us to do that for several lines of code to the same location, so that way there's ostensibly 4 lines of code within this one file that will be generated. That was generated with language, with the first language text that we sent. This command, it is telling us to set up the name of the box. So anybody that's dealt with Linux knows that each box, well, not just Linux, any operating system, you have to name the system itself. So the Echo Arch VBox right caret tells it to, hey, say this in this location. Now we'll change the password. Please retype password, blah, blah, blah. Password update successfully. So both times I entered in the password, it is in fact the same password. We are now creating the user, my user. There's a lot of background noise from my computer. I'm wondering if, because of this liquid cooling, I could actually remove some of them, but the ones that I need to remove are the ones that are kind of on top and closest to me. I don't think that will make a difference. So we created a user, then we changed the user password, and now we are waiting to see the next part. This video was in total much shorter than the last one. Okay, so the instructions tell us to do the grub install. Slightly different than previously before, because we had created the BIOS distros, the BIOS partition, and the EIF partition. It was much easier to install Grub, as if you remember from the last video, some reason why Grub was not installing, and it was because I did not have a BIOS section for Grub. Let's see, what was this? Oh, the Grub config, so that installed correctly. Then I exited out of Arch, out of root system back into the ISO system. I wish I could make this screen larger, i.e. the terminal. I'll probably look into that, so that way everyone can see much more clearly what it is that I am doing and not trying to squint at letters. Next, we unmounted everything. We did not receive an error command that we had entered in the incorrect information, so it can only be assumed that we had done everything correctly. I then told the system to shut down per the usual system command of shutdown. Shutdown takes about a minute, so that way it can okay. So there was a bit of an error right there. We'll get these things lined up properly. I'd accidentally forgotten that while waiting for shut off, I was watching a YouTube video to ensure that I had done everything correctly. Just finalizing the last few steps. Bless me, sorry about that. Okay. So we're back to the main desktop. I removed the ISO from the virtual drive. Upon starting up to the reboot section, let's see. I believe this is where we run into some of our first errors. So ostensibly, from here on out, I should just notify you what the error is. I don't know what it is that I did. I must have done something in setup that had caused the network connection to have either been turned off, not installed, or just failed in general. The first command that I input should be mildly apparent. As I go through the installation for the for GNOME. GNOME, as it constantly reaches out to connect and download the system information, not the system, the compile information for generating an actual physical desktop. Some reason why it is causing everything to fail. I couldn't get it to connect and to install anything, which was partially infuriating. I was looking up to see what was causing it, and I couldn't quite see what it was that I did. This is most likely due to my lack of experience with Arch Linux itself, or probably just Linux in general. As you heard from if you watched my first video, I don't know much about Linux. I know enough to keep me afloat as a standard user. I don't know enough to actually get down into the bare bones system, and that's why I kind of wanted to work with Arch Linux. Here we go. Error, 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 failed retrieval file, failed retrieving file, failed retrieving file. That is happening on every single thing. And as it's going through, there are about, I don't know, 400, maybe 300 files that it's just constant. Well, not files. It is running through the connectors, through the mirrors. It looks like it can retrieve the base GNOME information, but it cannot can't attach to any of the mirrors that were that had those files. I continue on through my way of trying out things, which ostensibly became just redoing the same command over and over again until I tested ping, and then I saw that the ping command was not connecting to Google. So I think I'll just call it here on the audio track. You can watch the rest of this video, but it is ostensibly me not being able to connect to anything and not being able to download GNOME. So I scrapped that operating system. I scrapped this VirtualBox machine, and I'll try again. If you're watching this, I am making these comments on September 17th. I will probably try again later tonight to try and get these systems in place and get it working. Well, thank you for watching another video of Watch an Idiot Do a Thing, and hopefully hopefully you learned something from this video that I did not initially pick up on. Hopefully you realize where it is that I went wrong. You're making adjustments to my methods of how I'm doing things, and you will pass on the knowledge of how you did this. If I never said this before, the purpose of these videos is because I want the path of learning to continue to be open for everyone. As we do better as a society, as we do better as individuals, we should pass that information on to others, so that way we're doing better as a society. And ostensibly, the Linux culture is a society. As we learned more about Arch Linux, we learn more about other distros, and we become better at these systems that we're creating. Thank you very much, and have a great day.